this part of the liver. And that is a Gavaldiga thing that we are learning this year, learning about the Yoseres HaKaved, and we can just see a liver right here in this picture.
Yeah.
And our hands don't even get bloody. One day, Mirza Hashem, we'll do Chazara on Chulin. We'll already be shechting, and we'll be able to show for real, the real stuff. You know, I mean,
Liver and onions.
liver and onions. Liver and onions. Amen. We should be zeicher. Okay, so tarpash hakaved is that little thing on top of the liver. And so even if you're just doing for that, and Tosfos says lav dafka. Okay, so why did they specifically say it? Tosfos says lav dafka. Lav dafka means not specifically. Dafka means specifically, and lav dafka means not specifically. So Tosfos says lav dafka from the liver, not specifically the liver, or the bottom of the daf, not specifically the liver, but any other thing also, right? Says Tosfos. Wait a second, Zalman. Take a look at this Tosfos over here.
Oh, me.
Over here. This Tosfos. Michatzer Kaved Shalom. Do you see the first two words?
Yeah.
What do they say?
Not sure.
Okay. So it says Lav Dafka Naka Yoseres HaKaved. You see? You see the Lamed and the Aleph and the Vav. Now I understand this is Rashi's script. Shleig, when we first started learning, did you get used to Rashi's script?
Yeah, I didn't know how to read it.
Yeah. Rashi's script takes a second. You have to get used to it. Same thing with Rivka. Yoseres HaKaved. They didn't take this thing, the Chatzer HaKaved, which the Torah calls Yoseres HaKaved. Thank you. Lav Dafka, they take the Chatzer HaKaved, the Yoseres HaKaved. They just use that example. Mishum de Ola Legavoa. So the reason that they used that, the Yoseres HaKaved, the reason they used the additional additive top of the liver to you, Zalman.
I tip my hat.
Tip my hat. Liver and onions. A better meal was never had. And so, why does the Gemara use the top of the onion to you? What, the top of the liver to you? Why doesn't it use any other part of the animal? Answers Tosfos. Mishum da'ola ligavoa. Says Tosfos, the top of the liver to ya. When you bring it as a korban to ya.
The best smelling.
To ya. Korban to ya. When you bring it in korban to ya. When you bring top of the liver to ya as a korban to ya, that the top of the liver goes to ya. It goes to Hashem. It goes to Gavoa. V'havya kechelev v'dam. And it's like on the same level as chelev and dam of fats, forbidden fats, and blood. Ela afilu kizayis shel shar basar, but any meat that you're cutting, that you're shechting for the idolater, even though you're shechting a kosher, you're doing it for him. Nam, you don't have to be asur according to Rabbi Eliezer. Kindamrinu the Gemara, like we say to like it says in the Gemara. This is on a few pages in a page. Yav zuz l'tavcha Israel. You give a zuz to a Jewish butcher. What's the din? V'orcha de milsa udenaka. So according to Rabbi Eliezer, any part of the animal. Oh, if any part of the animal, then why top of the liver to you? Because top only giving it to him to eat from this part of the korban. Even if it was just that, but any part of the korban, you can't do it. You can't do it for the idolater if the idolater is the one who owns the animal.
regardless of the intent of the shachet.
Yeah, I mean, assuming the shochet is a good shechita, still, according to Rabbi Eliezer, Shestam Machshavas Oved Kochavim Lavodas Kochavim, they're singing our least favorite songs. Molech, 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 sun, moon, stars.
There can't be a transfer of ownership at some point.
According to Rabbi Eliezer, it doesn't matter about the ownership. According to Rabbi Eliezer, the machshava of the owner, you're saying transfer the ownership
Of the animal.
of
Right.
the animal to be someone else's. Okay, maybe if you want to be extra stringent, you can do that.
We sell our chametz.
Yeah, maybe Sarah. Rabbi Eliezer says posel. Because the idolaters always thinking sun, moon, stars, just want to tap into the sun, moon, stars.
You don't even know from the top of the hat.
They know. Maybe they know from the top of from their idolaters. The thought is posel, and we said that that's in kachim, b'mukdashim. Ein hakol holech ela achar ha'oved. Everything goes according to the guy who's doing the action, doing the job. Makom she'ein hamachshava poselas b'chulin eno dinji. It's logical that it should only matter what the shechter does, what the guy who's doing the job does. Okay. So the Gemara goes through these opinions, and they say like this: Hani Tanai, the Tana Kama and Rabbi Eliezer, Islu the Rabbi Eliezer b'Rebbi Yossi. They agree with this idea of Rabbi Eliezer, son of Rabbi Yossi. We're in the Gemara now. The Tanya, it says in a brisa. Gemara is telling us it says in a brisa. Amar Rabbi Yossi, Shamati Shabalim Mifaglim. Rabbi Yossi says, I heard that the Bailim, the owners, can make pigul. So the Tanakama believes that the owner's thought can have an effect on kachim. And also, Rabbi Eliezer holds that the owner's thought can have an effect on the kachim, can make it pigul. Me, however, Tanakama suffer, the Tanakama holds Isha Mi'ine de Chashiv. If we heard that that's his thought, in Ilo, lo. If not, not. The Tanakama says that, if this guy was thinking his favorite song of sun, moon, stars,
That sounds like Lucky Charms.
Lucky Charms, right? Lucky Charms, by the way, total avodah zarah. Oh, top of the charms.
Yellow moons, purple eyes.
Yeah, let's worship. Let's worship him all. So the guy is doing his favorite Lucky Charms songs, right? It's good. The guy's doing his Lucky Charms, but according to the Tanakama, it's usher if he is doing. But if he's not doing anything, we don't say, his baseline thought is just Lucky Charm songs all day, right? Idolatrous. And Rabbi Eliezer says we do think that his thoughts are for idolatrous thoughts all day. Rabbi Eliezer says, even though we don't know what is going his playlist, even though we think it's moons and stars and idols and cars
and leprechauns
and baseball teams and bats and sticks and eitzim and avanim and moons. So if we don't know that he's thinking about that and he's taught, right, and that's his intention, so we don't assume that that's his automatic intention according to the Tanakama. Do we remember who the Tanakama is? Tana is one of the guys who teaches in the Mishnah, right? And Kama is first. We're in Shir today, Shir Kamab. But Kuf Mem Aleph, Kama, is first. Where do we see kama mean first?
Where do we see that comma means first?
Yeah, what's an example?
Um, in this sogya or
Think in all of Shas. Think in Seder Nezikin.
how comma the types of damages, like how many
Yeah.
types are
What are the
there?
Masechtas called?
Um, um,
Starts with Bays.
oh, the bhavas.
Ah, the Bavas. Bava, Kama, Bava Mitzia, Bava Basra. Means the first gate, middle gate, and end gate. So the Tanakama is the first opinion in our Mishnah.
She's
who's
not going to
anonymous.
forget that.
What?
She's not going to forget that.
It's okay. We always do Chazara. It's okay. It's totally okay. We're always doing Chazara.
Amen.
And so the Tanakama here, he says that they're not the stam of machshava of the idolater is not for idolatry. Rabbi Eliezer says it is. Stam machshava is avodas koravim, oved koravim, avodas koravim. Amrina. That we do say that. Va'asa Rabbi Yossi, and comes Rabbi Yossi here, lemeimar to say, Aval gav disham ine dechashiv. Even though we hear that he's thinking about it, we know he's not listening to it on his earbuds. He's listening to it on his speakers. And it's Moons and Stars song. And it's idolatry. We know that he's thinking to idolatry. Still, it doesn't matter. We do not say that this guy thinking and this guy doing the action has an effect. Exactly. So these are three opinions in our Mishnah. The first two say we do say that the owner's thoughts can affect the animal, but what? If we don't know what he's thinking about, we don't assume that he's thinking about idolatry. That's the Tanakh. Rabbi Eliezer says that we do think he's thinking about idolatry. Says Rabbi Yossi, even if he's thinking about idolatry, it's still a kosher animal because we don't care about the thought of the owner. And those are the three opinions. Zak the Gemara, Ika de Amri. You could also explain this another way. Ika de Amri. There is to say, right? We see the word say. If you look inside at the third to last line on Lamed Ches Amud Beis, third to last line, it says Ika de Amri. And you see the word Amar in there. I give you a pen for underlining. I will underline the first letter, and you can underline as you like, everything at the right time. That's the first letter of the word. You see Aleph Mem Resh?
Mm-hmm.
That means Amar. Amar is saying. And so Ika da Amre, Rivka, what does it mean? There is to say. There is to say. There are some that say. Ika, there are some. Ika really means there are. Da'amri she'omer, that say. B'de shamine dechashiv pligi tanaka. No, so what are they arguing about? B'de shamine dechashiv pligi. What are they arguing about? The Tanakama and Rabbi Eliezer. If we heard that he's really thinking about it, he's listening to the Lucky Charms idolatrous song on a speaker. We know that he's thinking for idolatry. Tanakama, Zalman, you see those last two letters? Zalman, you see those last two letters on the third line?
Yeah.
What are those last two letters?
Tes. Tough.
Tough. It's okay. Those are very close. Tough, good. And then? Now?
Kuf.
Kuf. Okay,
Yeah.
very good. So tough kuf, right? That stands for what? What word have we been saying a lot? Tough kuf, tough kuf. We explained it, tough kuf. We said the word kama. What's tough kuf? Tanakama. Very good. The Tanakama. So the Tanakama, so we're trying to understand what is this argument between the Tanakama and Rabbi Eliezer. There's a way to say that the argument is in the case where we actually heard that one case is that we didn't hear what they're thinking about. What are they arguing about? If we don't know what the idolater is thinking about, do we say that his stam machshava, that his baseline thought process is idolatrous? Rabbi Eliezer says yes. Rabbi Tanakama says no. Comes Rabbi Yossi says even if we know for sure that he's thinking about idolatry,
How does it
thoughts,
transfer to the?
it doesn't transfer exactly. So there's another way to understand it. The Machlokas is like this: that the Tanakama holds ki amrinan zeh mechashev v'zeh oved. When we say that this guy is thinking and this guy is doing the action, that only works to invalidate the korban on the inside. Now, what do we mean on the inside?
TJ?
Where?
TJ?
TJ on the inside. Okay, good clash. Good malach. TJ on the inside. Shout out. TJ on the inside. But that's not what the Gemara is talking about here. But it's a good guess. What is bifnim? I have a guess also. I mean, we haven't seen Rashi yet, so Rashi could actually say TJ on the inside. You know, I'm obliging. But maybe it's talking about in the Beis HaMikdash. Bifnim. Aval b'chutz lo. Because we're not going to learn it out from the inside onto the outside. Chutz mifnim lo yalfinan, says the Tanakama. We're not going to learn out the laws of what goes on in the Beis HaMikdash, outside the Beis HaMikdash. You know what they say about the Beis HaMikdash. What happens?
Goes
in the
right to
Beis
Vegas.
HaMikdash,
I mean,
what happens in the Beis HaMikdash
there are lottery straws.
is not necessarily learnable. That's what they say about Beis HaMikdash. You walk in, Beis HaMikdash, what happens in Beis HaMikdash, it's not necessarily learnable to outside the Beis HaMikdash.
For demonstration purposes only.
Yeah, oh. Outside maybe, you know. Don't even practice, you know. I don't know. All right. So, Ika Asa Rebbe Eliezer. What does it mean, Asa? What does it mean, Asa Rebbe Eliezer?
He did it.
Ah, very homonym, but you have to actually
See it inside?
read the words.
Okay.
Lamites Amud Aleph, we're on the top of 39. Okay.
Asa.
Asa Rebbe Eliezer. Anyone remember what Asa means?
Is it
They came,
Ah.
that he arrived. Comes Rabbi Eliezer Lemeimar to say, Yalfiran chutz mipnim. Rabbi Eliezer comes to say we do learn outside from the outside to the inside. The asa, what does asa mean?
And came.
And came Rabbi Yossi Lemeimar. Afilu b'fnim nami. Even on the inside also. Rabbi Yossi is like we never say that, oh, the owner's thinking and so therefore it can have an effect. You know? Rabbi Yossi is stalwart in that thing. Lahavdil, I'm going to say Lahavdil now. But Einstein was very bothered by this very fact. Einstein was like, how could you tell me that inferring information about an electron on this side of the galaxy, right? So obviously it's all nonsense. We have to go back to the drawing board and say, go back to the drawing board and bring in ether into the sugya, obviously. So obviously Einstein's nonsense, but the whole thing is nonsense. Um, but they say that, oh, an electron on this side of the galaxy, and the other side of the galaxy, space travel, what? Okay, globe, what are they talking about? But he was bothered that how could it work? And this was called, does anyone know this quantum mechanics phrase? This was called non-locality. And non-locality which is what drove Einstein crazy, allegedly. Yeah, according to the stories, Einstein, that Einstein was very good friends with some Jesuit pope, not pope, but priest or whatever. A big time Sheba. The guy who made up evolution was like Einstein's rabbi, and he's like, oh, this is how we're gonna get him confused or further off the derech, off the evidence. We know it's nonsense, but we can borrow that one word from quantum mechanics of non-local
Okay.
causality, right? Rabbi Yossi says that if he's not doing anything, how is his machshava affecting the animal? But then, of course, you got the Tanakama and Rabbi Eliezer that they don't seem to have a problem with the non-local causality. Call him. Who's our favorite guy? Our favorite scientist. Who's our
Shteigin?
favorite scientist.
Your favorite?
I put favorite in all these things, but Mills. No, not Mills.
Maxwell.
Maxwell. What's his name?
James Clerk.
James Clerk Maxwell. I always say it. James Clerk Maxwell. So James Clerk Maxwell has no problem with non-local causality. He has no problem here. But Einstein, like Rabbi Yossi, was like, what's going on? Okay, sometimes they bring sports analogies. I would say 99 analogies are sports analogies. Every once in a while,
And you fumbled this one right into
I
science?
did fumble this one right into science. It's very
Very
yeshivish to
good.
pretend you know what you're talking about with regards to science. Okay, so let's see the Rashi. Ika Amr, there is this Afilu b'de sham mi'ine. Even if we heard Lo'ovid B'chavim Dechashim, we heard that this idolatry is singing the Lucky Charm song. Stars and moons, I'll worship them. And soon, Chas v'shalom. I don't want to sing their idolatry songs just for the example, But if ever there was like a need to give a disclaimer afterwards, after a song about stars and moons, Chas v'shalom, these messages.
Your children may never be the same.
Lucky Charms was traded, so never allowed to have it in the house. So I got saved from that one particular poison. But they got it in with the Fruity Pebbles and etc. And they got Fruity Pebbles in a bunch, every color of Fruity Pebble was derived by a different bug. L'chaira Efsher. Okay. So says Rashi that Polig Rabbanan Aleh. That's what the argument between the Tanakama Zalman. Sometimes they call the Tanakama the Rabbanan, and sometimes they call them the
Just a regular guy.
Chachamim. Very good. Sometimes they call them the Chachamim. It's the Tanakama. It's the anonymous opinion, right? And they go, the Rabbanan are arguing on Rabbi Eliezer. But again, they both agree with this non-local causality, that the Baalim are mefaglin, that the owners can make a korban pigul with their thought. Even though the Kohen is thinking for the right time, the Baalim are thinking that they want to have this in a week. They got their food saving apparatus ready to go. What was that thing called? The vacuum?
A vacuum seal.
The vacuum seal.
Kravat.
Kravat. Nice.
That's exactly what it's called.
It's exactly the word, we realize, by the way, that right now we call him Oxford, but we get Jastro
So what's the rub
at the
opinion?
right time. Okay. So what is the Rove opinion? So the rabbis say, so they both hold that the non-local causality, but the rabbis are arguing on, even if we heard that his thought is for idolatry. In the Beis HaMikdash, you're right, the non-causality works according to the Tanakhama. In the Beis HaMikdash, but not outside the Beis HaMikdash, not in Chutz. Right? The Korban, when you're dealing with the Korban, Rabbi Eliezer and Rabbi Yossi says that they both agree that the owner's intention can non-causally invalidate the korban sacrifice. But on the outside, when we're dealing with chulin, that's the machlokas between the Tanakhama and Rabbi Eliezer. The Tanakhama says we don't learn chutz mipnim. Chutz mipnim, machshavas avodas kochavim bechulin, machshavas pigol bekorban. Right? The thought of avodas kochavim outside, which invalidates in chulin, and we don't learn that out from the fact that the non-causality thought of the owner of for the wrong time in a korban. The Tanakhama says we don't learn it out like that. Lo yalfinan. We don't learn chutz mipnim. Lo yalfinan. Lemeimar bailim osrim. To say that the owner's thought forbids the animal in a regular mundane meat sandwich. Ela kidichsiv krag. Oh, rather, because like the pasuk says, zivche mesim nizbechu. So when it's talking about a korban, it's talking about zivche mesim nizbach lavodas kochavim dibifnimu. So then when you're doing avoda, and when you're inside the Beis HaMikdash, v'hikriv v'hakariv makriv habaylim is so hikriv hamakriv. The baylim, when it comes to a korban, the owner of the animal is also called the bringer of the korban. But outside, we don't say like this. That's what the Tanakhama says. But Rabbi Eliezer suffered, and Rabbi Eliezer holds yalfinan. Yalfinan. Who knows what that word means? Yalfinan.
We taught.
Oh, very good. Or we learn. We do learn it out. Rabbi Eliezer says yalfinan, meaning we do learn out this from that. Yalif. You know, there is a way that we can remember it. Sometimes, if you want to show someone kavod, you say Rabbi Meiri Alufi. You know, Alufi b'chachma, like my teacher. I don't know. Maybe Aluf is also from like another lashon, but that's what popped into my head. And while things are popping into my head about etymology, we were talking about the word asa before, and it means to come, right? Ki asa, right? For asa, Rabbi Eliezer, maybe Rabbi Eliezer comes to say, Rabbi Yossi comes to say. There's a Gemara that whenever I see the word asa, we look at the word asa, talking about the most important asa. They got someone comes and sees Eliyahu. Say, Emasai asa mar. Like, yo, Eliyahu, when are you coming? You know, and they say today. I was telling us today, as today, if you in Bikolo Tishmo, the possibility today. So it'd be like asa, okay. So Yalfinan, that we do learn it out. B'mematzinu, wow. You know, as they say in very yeshivish circles, Mematzinu.
Where's the coffee?
Yeah, Mematzinu. Can I find it? Where is it? What do we find? A Mematzinu is one of the harder rare, difficult, or exciting-ish, or way of learning out. It's a mematzinu. What do we find? That the Bailim are poslim b'machsheves oved kochavim b'chulim. We find that the Bailim, can invalidate with their thought of idolatry in chulin. Ve'afilu acher shochet, even if another person is shechting. The gabe oved kochavim by idolatry. Afilu b'stama, even in any case. If you're shechting, the stam machshavas oved kochavim is for avodas kochavim. So Rabbi Eliezer says yalfinan chutz mifnim from a mematzinu. He says it's true. The thought that we see that would make a korban puzzle of the Bailim, and the thought that would make a chulin puzzle from the Bailim are different thoughts. If it's chulin, he's just thinking about idolatry, and that's his intention. And if it's in kachim, what's the thought that invalidates the kachim, makes it pigul?
Mako? No.
His machshava, his
Machshava for what?
where he eats, when he eats.
When he eats.
When he eats.
Zman. And so it's different machshavas. Comes Rabbi Eliezer and says mematzinu. We find that there's a Bailim posted with their machshava in chulin for avodah zarah, and so we find also. Well, it says actually that afilu someone else is shouting about idolatry. However, when you're dealing with an idolater, he's always thinking that, and so we do learn it out in this case from a mematzinu. The Gemara doesn't even ask, why doesn't the Tanakhama learn this mematzinu? Because we have no obligation to learn a mematzinu. It doesn't we have to learn it. They learn a mematzinu here. Tanakhama doesn't. Yes.
We've heard the Tanakhama be referred to as the Rabbanan or the Chachamim, but is it also we sometimes will say who's the Tanakhama? Is it Rabbi Akiva or is it Rabbi Meir or something? So it could be an individual also, or is that referencing the Chachamim that are in line with the thinking of Rabbi Akiva? I'm not sure.
I hear your question. So when we see a Tanakhama, we don't know, is it one opinion or is it many opinions? And the Gemara, usually each Gemara, that's one of the things that they will debate. If there's Tanakhama in the Mishnah, they'll figure out, is this Tanakhama the Rove? Is it one guy?
Right.
But each case is that's one of the discussions.
Copy.
Good question.
Thank you.
Thanks to you. The excellent question.
To you.
So, so Rabbi Yossi is stalwart, Do my best Einstein impression.
That's pretty good.
Ivan! Inside! Also, this guy think, this guy do, we know say. Freaking Einstein. One of the Shibur things, we know that they like to mess with us. Obviously, mess with us with the globe hoax, a big mess with us. Fake moon landing, big mess with us. Having multiple roles to the one celebrity, so you think it's different people, just to keep messing with us, right? And so, another way that they mess with us is that Einstein, this guy who's a psych, is they tell us Einstein's this genius. Everyone's out here thinking that Einstein's genius. Was I the genius? I don't know. But then they're saying that, who's the biggest genius? Look at all these amazing books he wrote. Richard Dawkins. Oh my Lucifer.
You mean
I'm exposed. Yeah, what did I say?
Richard Dawkins.
Oh, Stephen Hawking. The truth is, probably the same guy. No, I'm kidding. That one I'm obviously joking. But Richard Dawkins, Stephen Hawking. I met Stephen Hawking. People think he's so smart.
Right.
The guy can't talk. He's going, and then the computer saying, "How do we know that that's
Right.
not someone else saying that?"
Right.
You know, the guy was on Epstein Island. He was drinking a gin.
So you're saying the boner was
Eating
AI
kittens.
induced?
I was saying, what was
You're
it?
saying the boner was AI induced?
Oh, I'm saying that another thing that I mentioned about adrenochrome that we don't know is that Bill Gates, Bill Clinton, Jeffrey Epstein, they all got a good head of hair. And they're all likely adrenochrome drinkers. Now we don't know. I mentioned that one in a different set. Anywho, so חוץ מפנים, ואז הרבי יוזי לבר, אפילו בפנים נמי, זה מחשב וזה עובד לא אמרינן. We don't have this non-local thinking that the violin make any difference whatsoever. That brought us to say that Stephen Hawking was big time Shiva. He probably was like completely. I think that Stephen Hawking was really like some genius that was like communicating with it. They had someone out. You think he wrote those books? The guy, you know, he's probably also not really in a wheelchair. Just like, by the way, Stevie Wonder, not really blind.
Right. That's true.
Just like Michael J. Fox doesn't really have Parkinson's.
Really.
Yeah, he doesn't have Parkinson's.
Wow.
And so
Stevie Wonder not blind.
not
Fact.
blind. And all these things, you know, we're exposing little by little.
You see when he catches the mic?
Yes, that one.
That's a crazy good one.
So זה מחשב וזה עובד לא אמרינן דהמקריב לא יחשב מקריב ממש. You know, he's saying that the mamish, that he's one of the people bringing it, the violin, that his intention to eat it after 3 days is going to make a difference, you know. That does not possible. Okay. Itmar. It was stated. Very good. Hashaychet as a behema lizrek dama lavedas kochav. Okay. For this itmar, let's just take a second to appreciate that we just really saw that Gemara. They learned three-way machlokas in our Mishnah. They could understand this machlokas 3 different ways to understanding it. Very gewaldig. Okay. There's a small Tosfos before we go on to the Itmar. I'd like to see Tosfos on the bottom of Lameches Beis. Hani Tanai Islu the Rabbi Eliezer Rabbi Yossi. So this is in the beginning of the Gemara. The Gemara immediately wants to establish that the Machlokas Tanakama and Rabbi Eliezer is not that they're arguing about this statement of Rabbi Eliezer Rabbi Yossi, that Rabbi Eliezer Rabbi Yossi says that in Kachim, the Baalim, the owners can make the animal piggle with their intention. But the Tanakama says that if we don't know what he's thinking, we don't just assume that it's for idolatry, and therefore it's kosher in Chulin. And Rabbi Eliezer says, no, we do hear that it's, even if we don't know that what he's thinking, we assume that it's idolatry and it's possible. Says Tosfos, Hani deny Islahu the Rabbi Eliezer Rabbi Yossi. He says, Perish Rabbanan Rabbi Eliezer. So who are these Tanaim? It's the Rabbanan and it's Rabbi Eliezer. The Masnisin of our Mishnah, of our Rabbi Yossi, but Rabbi Yossi in our Mishnah, Lo Savar Le Kavase. He doesn't hold like Rabbi Eliezer, son of Rabbi Yossi. Wow, you think that's his son? He doesn't hold of his son. His son's pshat. He's like, sorry, whoever's never. He's like, what are you talking about, bro? Non-local causality. Savar Le Kavase. He says that no, it only matters about what the guy's thinking. Okay, thank you, Tosfos. Itmar, it was stated, we're on 39a. Hashochet as a behema lizrok dama lavodas go'avin. Okay. Hashochet as a behema slaughtered the animal lizrok dama lavodas go'avin. What does that mean? What does that mean?
The slaughterer of the animal throws blood to the idol worshippers.
Okay, an excellent first try, but now I want to read every single word
Okay.
and translate it.
Hashochet,
Yeah.
the slaughterer.
Okay.
Es habehema, of the animal.
Yeah.
Lizrok, to throw. Dama, blood.
It's blood.
Its blood. La'avodas kochavim, to worshippers of stars.
Or to idolatry, right? Excellent. Right there.
Ulahekter chalava, la'avodas kochavim, and the fats and sinews.
Fat sinews, word by word. Sometimes we gotta go word by word.
Oh, sorry. And the burning of the fat is
Letter by letter. Sometimes we gotta go.
and to the burning fats.
Okay. Ulahak
Fat. It's fat.
And yeah.
To worshippers of stars.
Okay. To idolatry.
To idolatry.
So shechting the animal, just you do great.
Thank you.
Just review.
Thank you.
Shechting the animal in order to throw its blood to idolatry or to burn its chaleva, its fats, its usher fats to idolatry. Weiter.
Rabbi Yochanan Amar Pesula. Rabbi Shimon ben Lakish Amar Mutaris.
Today, the great Reish Lakish, we all know. Every word he ever uttered glows forever with an eternal glow that doesn't end. I don't know if I mentioned that part. And it's forever. And it's infinite. Right, okay. So Rabbi Yochanan says it's possible. And there's Shimon Lucky says Muteres. Right there.
Rabbi Yochanan Amar Pesula Machshavin Me'avoida La'avoida. Rabbi Yochanan says it's puzzle, meaning it's not allowed.
What?
The shchita.
Yeah.
Because of he's thinking me'avoida la'avoida.
Ah. What do you think that means? Thinking from action to action, from job to job.
So he's saying,
and we learn inside to the outside. Reish Lakish Amar. Reish Lakish says it's mutter. Why does Reish Lakish say that the animal is mutter? If you shecht the animal, what is he thinking? To throw the blood to the idolater or to burn the fats for the idolater. So he says it's mutter. Why? Ein mechashbin me'avoda. We don't think from the job to the job. What does that mean? We don't think from the job to the job. While I'm doing the shchita, I'm thinking, some guy is thinking, oh, I'm going to do the throwing of the blood or the burning of the fats. You know? When you're in the shchita, When you're in the blood throw, you're in the blood throw. When you're in the fat boin, you're in the fat boin. Right? Reish Lakish, that's what Reish Lakish says. Reish Lakish says, we're not mechashe from avoda to avoda. Rabbi Yochanan says, if you're thinking that you're going to do the fat boin for idolatry, even at the time of the shechita,
that should be disbarred.
Disbarred. Indeed.
That's a terrible mindset for any shochet.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Avoda to avoda. But wait a second. We're saying disbarred. Rabbi Yochanan, the great Rabbi Yochanan. Rabbi Yochanan said that he was not afraid of the Ayin Hara.
wow.
Rabbi Yochanan would sit and they aren't afraid of Ayin Har. I'm not afraid of Ayin Har. Said Rabbi Yochanan. He's in the Zera of Yosef and Tzaddik. He doesn't have to worry.
Oh, he is
about,
from Zarav. That's what I was thinking.
Yes, he said he doesn't have to worry about Ayin Har.
The tribe of Yosef is not affected by the Ayin Har.
Very interesting. Rabbi Yochanan, the great, but this is Rabbi Yochanan Dabar. Yeah, I think it's him. Yeah. So very fat, also. Very fat. Baal Basar.
Yeah.
And his Aver was 5 kavim.
Huge.
5 kavim. There's no Rabbi Yishmael, Rabbi Yossi, but anyways. So Reish Lakish says that we do not think from avoda, and also we do not learn chutz mivnim. Ve'azdu l'tamayu, and they go according to their reasoning. The Itmar, for it was stated, shachta l'shma. This is a saying this was stated in Zvachim, that he shecht an animal l'shma, shechta for Hashem, lizrok dama shelo l'shma, but you're going to throw the blood to Superman. That's the most yeshivish thing. I was trying to think of something yeshivish, lizrok dama for any avodah zarah, right? Or even shelo l'shma for Oscar the Grouch. Rabbi Yochanan says it's pasul, and Reish Lakish says it's kosher. Rabbi Yochanan Amar Kashera. Rabbi Yochanan Amar Pesula. Reish Lakish Amar Kashera. Rabbi Yochanan Amar Pesula. Rabbi Yochanan says Pesula. He says Mechashvin me'avaida le'avaida. He says we are thinking from job to job, and so if his shchita, at the time of the shchita, he was thinking that he's going to throw the blood for the guy in the Lucky Charms commercial. It's puzzle. But Reish Lakish says, who cares about what he's thinking about vis-a-vis blood throw? He's doing the shchita. We care about what he's thinking about vis-a-vis the shchita. So they're going l'shitasam, that they are mechashev from avodah to avodah. Shimon is not mechashev. Ein mechashev me'avaida le'avaida. B'loi gavrinan mimachshaves pigol, and we don't learn from the machshaves pigol, and we don't learn from the inside to the outside. Inside and outside, blew his house with a blue little window, and I sent this song to tell you guys that they were giving us predicted programming with that song. Blue, if I was green out. If I was green out. But here's my question. Isn't the words to that song Dabadi Dabadai? And if I was green, I would die is only like a parody, right?
I think that it is a parody.
It is a
parody.
parody. It's not the original lyrics.
But it's been a parody long enough that it could have been predictive programming.
I don't know.
It was a rumor that existed. At least it coexisted at the same time that the song was out.
Right.
Because I remember kids telling it to each other on the playground.
On
while
the bus.
Right.
On the
Yes.
bus. I remember being on the
if I
bus.
was green, everyone said.
Oh, on playground.
Like that's like they dropped like the Dabadi thing, but
Right.
everyone knew immediately that there was this other version.
Right.
If I was green,
We have to find the originator of that
So what's the question?
parody.
We look at these pictures of what they did in Hawaii, what they did in California, and we see all the wildlife razed to the ground, blue roofs and blue garbage cans.
And cars.
Blue, if I was green out. Okay. So this guy says inside and outside. Rabbi Yochanan says we learn outside from inside, but Reish Lakish says no, we don't. Vitricha. And we need this. We need both of these cases of this machlokas and Reish Lakish and Rabbi Yochanan. There are elements that in one that without the other we wouldn't be able to ascertain. Vitricha. If you're gonna say in this, Behind this one, Rabbi Shimon ben Lakish, right after Rish Lakish says, Mishum chutz mifnim lo yavino. We don't learn chutz mifnim. Aval pnim mifnim, but inside from inside. Ema Modi, say that Rish Lakish agrees. Oh, Modi leather Rabbi Yochanan, say he agrees with Rabbi Yochanan. V'itmar, and they're going to say behach. That one. Behahi kaber Rabbi Yochanan. That's what Rabbi Yochanan was talking about. Aval behach. But this one. Emamoti, the Rish Lakish says he agrees with Rish Lakish. Shricha. We need it. Okay.
So both perspectives are valid.
Well, yes. Every opinion from Chazal is a valid opinion. And if someone says something in Chazal that's like complete, like Joe, like off, like missed the mark, like obviously didn't understand something, Chazal will say, since you brought that up in the base measures, let me say a shtickle Torah about it. And they'll go off on a tangent. You know? That's a really Haley tangent.
Wow.
You know, and those tangents got codified forever in Gemara.
Unbelievable.
You know?
Wow.
So if you like, you know why? Because the guy made a good try.
Right.
You know, sitting there, he's Chazal. Said a Barusa. Okay, I said mistake by accident. Oh, let's say a word about it. Good thing thanks for bringing it up.
Right.
Know?
It's also great that they're pointing it out and like saying like, oh no, that is the error, so that like future people to come, they might come down that line of thinking. They're like, no.
Right, exactly.
Hard stop.
Okay, Rashi, Itmar, it was stated. Hashomit as a behemoth is Rokdava. So you're shefting the animal to throw the blood to idolatry. We're in the Rashi now. Ashrita l'shem avodas kochavet. So if you would have shechted it for the ishachta, that if you would have shechted it, we're on 39b, 39a, in the Rashi, that if you shechted it for idolatry, shehaya b'taito lavodas le'ovda b'shchita zo. Everyone says it's usher if the guy who's bringing the korban is doing the shchita and he's thinking idolatry, he's thinking Mount Everest, Mount Kilimanjaro, any mountain, right? He will worship. He's thinking. So that is Machshava. While he's doing the shechting, that's his intention that he's shechting it from Mount Kilimanjaro. For Hagrizim, perhaps. He's shechting it for Hagrizim. For Hagrizim, he's shechting it for Hagrizim. The Zivrei Mason, we'll get it out of here. That's the Zivrei Mason, by the way. Do I have a Tanakh here? I do have a Tanakh. It's in Tehillim 106. Zalman, Tehillim 106. It's not easy. If you need help, Steve can help you. But I think you can figure it out. So it's called Zivrei Mason. It's the korban of deaths. Who? Ela b'shelo haya mischaven liyo shchita. So he wasn't intending that the shchita would go for idolatry, for the worship of the stars, for the worship of astrology. Ela shachta la'atzma. Rather, he shechted it to himself. Alminaz she'avod avodas gochavim. Shachta la'atzma. For himself, he shechted it that it should be for idolatry. Bizrika. He shechted it so that only the blood throwing part is going to be, not the shechting part, but the blood throwing part is going to be for the idolatry. I'm going to worship the idolatry with the blood and the fats. Zalman, you found it?
Yeah.
Shkaya. Okay, the verse we are looking for is verse 28.
They embraced
Can you hold it outside, please?
Baal Peor and ate the sacrifices of the dead.
Oh, sacrifices of the dead. What is that in Hebrew? Read me the last two words in Hebrew. Wait, hold on. You know that
Zin
first?
Chay?
You know that first letter?
Zayin.
Very good. You know that next letter?
Bis.
Okay. And what's that third letter?
Hey.
Excellent. What's that fourth letter?
Yud.
Very good. I'll sound it out. Zivche.
Zimchei.
Zivche.
Zimchei.
So sometimes the bet can be a bet. There's the vet. If there's no dot, you have to know. So sometimes it's a v sound, right? So it's zivche mesim, and it's the sacrifices of the dead. Excellent read.
Shkar.
Good. So we're assuming that it's zivche mesim. So if he did the shechita for the idolatry, of course, get it out of here. It's zivche mesim, sacrificing the dead. But what if he did the shechita for fine, no bad intention? This he didn't do the shechita l'shma, but he did to the throwing of the blood, not l'shma. Is it kosher or puzzle? Is it considered zivche mesim or not? Or is it puzzle for a different reason? So,
How can you separate the shita from the throwing of the blood?
because when you're in the shechita, you're in the shechita. When you're in the blood throw, you're in the blood throw. Who cares what his intention is in the future? What is his intention right now for the action that he's doing? It's an unbelievable lesson and idea in
Compartmentalization.
yeah, in living in the moment, you know. It's a really great thing about living in the moment. Okay, we don't need it. It's okay. I will take that though. Thank you. Shkaya. Gadol. So we have two opinions here. If your intention was to throw the blood for the idolatry, or to burn the fat for the avodas b'chama, Rabbi Yochanan says Pesula, and Reish Lakish says Muteres. Rabbi Yochanan over Pesula, Rabbi Yochanan says Pesula, Mechashbin me'avaida le'avaida. We do think from one avodah to the other avodah. If he's thinking, oh, I'm going to shecht it for Hashem, but I'm just going to burn the fats for idolatry. So Rabbi Yochanan says that is invalidatory thought process. Mechashbin le'avaida.
Did you say invalidatory? You did.
Invalidatory.
Oh, not Tatorian?
Invalidatory. I was the invalidatory
I'm sure you are.
We'll only be eyes in the system, you know. I was mad at the principals for firing Rabbi Brownstein. At the end of the year, it was a hostile takeover. They didn't want rabbis.
Bless you, the principal in the room or the principals that set up the system?
Yeah, it was not. They were only puppies probably, but they were trying for a YU beardless takeover of Hafter, and they were getting out. They got out Rabbi Bajnon and some other rabbis with beards, and then the favorite rabbi in Hafter, Rabbi Brownstein, the greatest Talmid Chacham I met in my life, Adayom Hazeh. And Rabbi Meiri and Mordechai Rabbi Brown Shlita, and they fired him, and he had no job. Like at the end of the next year, they did it cruelly. So at what's it called? Graduation. Like we walk up and shake hands. Everyone was shaking hands with like the principal, and I go up in front of everyone and their mama and their grandmama. And I gave him the old no handshake. My parents were livid. But I said, Mom, they were Vazet Talmid Chacham, Barabim, so they have no chelik in Olam Haba. But she still made me go over and apologize to the rabbi that night. And I did. And then I saw him years later, and we shook hands like, for real, and we laughed about it. Okay. Anyways, so do we learn inside from outside, from avoda to avoda? You say yes. Mechashbin me'avoda le'avaida. Kishechizev b'shas avoda zo al avoda acheres. He's thinking about this avoda. He's thinking about doing the shechting, but he's thinking about doing the blood throwing and the burning. For example, like you thought during the shrita, zrika, on the throwing. That's considered a good machshava for avodas kochavim, and it invalidates. And then the guy who has such a thought, according to Rabbi Yochanan, would become the invaliditarian, in chief. And Gamrina Chutz Mivnim. Chutz is there avodas kochavim, the Isser of idolatry. Mivnim, the machshavas pigul, the thought of having it outside of Pnim. Shashrochit alminas lizrok dam lemachar, that he's throwing on the condition to throw the blood for tomorrow. Or lahaktir emurim lemachar, or to burn up the innards, the emurim, lemachar. Zeu ikar pickle. That's what pickle is. That's what pickle is. So according to Rabbi Yochanan, and we learn chutz mipnim. Rish Lakish says it's mutter because we don't learn from avodah to avodah. So I don't care if this guy's thinking, I'm going to throw the blood to Confucius. We don't care because right now he's doing the shechita. When you're in the shechita, you're in the shechita. When you're in the blood throwing phase, you're in the blood throwing phase. And if it's chulin, right, after he did the shechita, and then he's going to go take the blood, throw the blood, Okay. So we don't care. Like, you did the good shechita. His blood, the fact that he throws the blood of the chulin, like, I don't think it matters. But what if
it's not about that he throws it, it's about his intent when he was doing the sheet.
Right, but what about if his intention?
So
his intention to do it puzzles the animal, but if he actually then goes and does the shechita, does the zrika satam to avodah zarah, it doesn't invalidate. But the intention while you're doing the shechita does invalidate. The intention to throw the blood to idolatry. But if you do the shechita lishma and then you actually go throw the blood to idolatry, tell me it doesn't invalidate the chulin? I think it doesn't. I think it doesn't. I think correct in that case. It's interesting. The ghosts. It's interesting. The ghosts. It's cinnamon.
The toast?
Toast. So Shachta Lishma. Wait. So he's saying we don't learn chutz, we don't mix chashay from avodah to avodah, and so we also don't learn from avodah to avodah. Va'azdu l'taymayu. Rabbi Eliezer, Rabbi Yochanan, and Reish Lakish go according to their reasoning. If anyone can tell me the yeshivish word for saying this concept.
The shitasa.
The shitasa, excellent. They're going the shitasa. The idmar, because it was stated. Shachta lishma. You did say shchita lishma. Like Rashi bechatas. This case is talking about a chatas korban. The kol sharziv, all the rest of the zvachim of the korbanos is ksherim. Shalol lishma. If it's not lishma, aval chatas, but a chatas shenifta shalol lishma psula. It's possible. V'chein pesach, and also pesach. Shenishkat shalol lishma. V'im shachat hakatas lishma. Lizrok dama shalol lishma. So this is the case in the chatas. You're shechting it lishma, but to throw the blood lo lishma. So Rabbi Yochanan says psula, and Reish Lakish says kashera. Rabbi Yochanan says psula because he does believe in Mechashvin me'avaida for avaida. The guy is thinking about blood throwing for the wrong purpose during the cut. It's good enough to passel it. And Gamrinan mimachshavas pigol. And so he holds that we learn from the thought of pigol. So Rashi, Rabbi Yochanan Omer, Pesula, the Gamrinan mimachshavas puzzle. Mimachshavas puzzle. Mimachshavas shelo lishma, mimachshavas pigol. So we learn machshava lo lishma from the machshavas pigol. The ikro me'avoda for avoda, because we learn avoda in the Beis Hamikdash to avoda in the Beis Hamikdash. And Reish Lakish says chutz mipnim. Wait, Reish Lakish says keshera. We don't think machshava to machshava. Imichash me avoda le'avoda. Below Garina, we don't learn a machshava of lo lishma, of not for Hashem, from a machshava of pigol, which is the wrong. For the wrong zman, very good. And the sages say machshava for a thought for the wrong time, as the sages say. And we need both of these sources for Reish Lakish and Rabbi Yochanan. One talking about in the Chulin case, one talking about in the Lishma and the Chatas case. Both of these machlokas, Rabbi Yochanan and Rabbi Shimon. The is marbeha. Then we said in this milsa kavai. So the first one is shechting the animal. You say baha or Rish Lakish. And this one, Rish Lakish is talking about that we don't learn it out from kachim into chulin, but to learn from the machshava of pigol to the machshava of lo lishma. This is another machshava in kachim. Pasol the chadash lo lishma. We would learn from pigol. That's why we needed both arguments of Reish Lakish and Rabbi Yochanan to see that Rabbi Yochanan, that Reish Lakish really doesn't learn anywhere Pnim from Pnim machshava. You would say Pnim to Pnim inside. You might think that he learned that he agrees with Rabbi Yochanan about Beha, but we said in the other one about the korban of the chadas. Be'ahika Rabbi Yochanan. That's what Rabbi Yochanan was talking about Beha, but in the one about the chulin. You would say the only reason Rabbi Yochanan was saying that we're machashe from avoda to avoda is because it's pnim. It's on the inside, but if it's on the outside, maybe we could say he does it machashe. We learned that even in the chulin, even on the outside. Okay, and therefore we need them both. And now we see a Rashi that says Elos Vicha Davodas Gochavim Mitzara. And we're like, wait, did we see that? We go back into the Gemara. We say Mazik Rav Sheish and it goes into Rav Yossi's opinion already. That's a tomorrow. We see after the Shmaya. Rav Shesha is bringing in Rav Yossi. Now remember, we started shir today dealing with this three-way machlokas. And actually, last time we had shir, we saw Rav Gamliel. Oh, maybe it's different opinions. We have the three opinions. It's gone forever.
Aww.
It's okay, we use the ones. We have the three opinions. Maybe we could use one of those markers on this thing. We have the three opinions. Tanakama, Rabbi Eliezer, and Rabbi Yossi. And today, we analyzed a little bit of all three of them. We really went deep into the first two opinions. And then tomorrow, we're going to really go deep into the third one. And Baruch Hashem, feeling good about this sugya, feeling good about shteigin. Good start to the Vach. And I could see by the clock on the wall that it's time to wish to one and all goodbye.
Goodbye.
Farewell.
Farewell.
So long.
So long.
Adieu.
Adieu.
Sefer Panim Yafos.
Sefer Panim Yafos.
Echapam.
Echapam.
Moshe Barucho.
Moshe Barucho.
Diber Benachas.
Benachas.
Oy Vez Atayra. Oy Vez Abrios. Adumanvu.
Allah Proshin.
Goodbye until we meet again.